Imagine this, 2024, and throw him in the ring against Tyson Fury. Or picture Sugar Ray Robinson stepping into the modern welterweight division, facing Terence Crawford or Errol Spence. Would these old-school legends dominate today's fighters, or would modern training, sports science, and new fight strategies expose them? Welcome to Back to Boxing. Before we start comparing eras, we need to understand why the old-school guys were absolute monsters in the ring. And it starts with one word: toughness. Let's start with one of the biggest differences between old-school fighters and today's champions: their activity level. Fighters today step into the ring maybe 2-3 times a year, and that's considered busy. But back in the day, these guys were fighting every few weeks, sometimes even multiple times a month. Take Sugar Ray Robinson, one of the greatest of all time. In 1941 alone, he fought 10 times, and that wasn't even his busiest year. Henry Armstrong? He defended his welterweight title 27 times in less than 2 years. That's more fights than some modern champs have in their entire careers. And why did they fight so often? Simple. There were no million-dollar paydays, no sponsorship deals, no luxury training camps. If you didn't fight, you didn't eat. These guys stayed in shape year-round because there was no time for layoffs, no tune-up fights, just pure survival mode. But here's the thing. You don't fight that much unless your body is built for war. And that brings us to another key difference: their training. If you think today's fighters train hard, you haven't seen what the old-school legends put themselves through. These guys didn't have high-tech training facilities, sports science, or customized recovery plans. What they had was pure grit, an insane work ethic, and an old-school mindset that pushed their bodies to the absolute limit. Take Rocky Marciano, undefeated heavyweight champion. He ran 7 miles a day, not in running shoes, but in army boots. Imagine the impact on his legs. He chopped wood for hours, believing it would make his punches harder. No fancy equipment, no shortcuts, just brutal, raw training. And then there's Roberto Durán. He didn't just train hard, he trained like a monster. He'd spar hundreds of rounds before a fight, rotating through fresh sparring partners while he just kept going. No breaks, no easy rounds. His philosophy was simple: if the gym was hell, the fight would feel easy. These guys weren't worried about overtraining or optimal rest periods. Their mindset was simple: train until you break, then train some more. And that's why they could fight 15 rounds at full speed without slowing down. Modern fighters focus on efficiency, but the old-school guys, they built themselves into machines through sheer willpower. Even imagine. Now, let's be fair. Boxing has evolved, and today's fighters have a clear advantage in some areas. Modern training techniques, recovery science, and strategy have changed the way fighters perform. One of the biggest differences? Athleticism. Step into any top boxing gym today, and you'll see something very different from the old-school training methods. Fighters aren't just running miles in heavy boots or chopping wood. They're working with elite strength coaches, doing explosive power training and fine-tuning their bodies for maximum speed and efficiency. Take Canelo Alvarez. His training isn't just about throwing punches for hours. He does resistance band drills, plyometrics, and weighted shadow boxing to make every punch snap with explosive force. This kind of explosive training has changed the game. Fighters today don't just rely on toughness, they maximize their athletic potential. And now, let's talk about defense. Backness. They'd take punches to give punches. But modern defense? It's on a completely different level. Take Floyd Mayweather, for example. His entire career was built on not getting hit. Pernell Whitaker? The guy made elite fighters miss all night long. Even Tyson Fury at heavyweight uses footwork and head movement that fighters from the past simply didn't develop to the same level. This isn't to say old-school fighters didn't have defense, but today's fighters have more advanced defensive strategies. They use angles better, they clinch smarter, and they don't absorb as much damage. But here comes the real question. If we dropped some of the greatest old-school fighters into today's era, would they still dominate? Some legends were so good, so ahead of their time, that they'd thrive in any era. Here are a few who would still dominate today. Sugar Ray Robinson. Speed, power, footwork, defense. He had it all. Even with today's athleticism, he'd be a problem for anyone. Muhammad Ali. Ali wasn't just quick for a heavyweight, he had a fight IQ that would still be elite today. Roberto Durán. Duran's ability to fight on the inside, outside, and in multiple weight classes makes him dangerous in any era. But not every old-school fighter would transition smoothly. Some had styles that might not work as well today. Jack Dempsey, a pure brawler, but might struggle against modern defensive masters. Rocky Marciano, insanely tough, but today's heavyweights are way bigger and stronger. Joe Louis, one of the greatest ever, but his slower footwork might be an issue against today's ultra-fast fighters. So, what's the final answer? Could old-school fighters survive in today's era? Yes, but with some adjustments. The truly elite guys, Robinson, Ali, Durán, they'd adapt, because their skills were ahead of their time. But boxing has evolved. Fighters today are bigger, faster, and more scientific. Some old-school legends would struggle with modern athleticism and defensive tactics, but at the end of the day, a great fighter is a great fighter, no matter the era. Legends find a way to win, and then they fought. Boxing's not a spreadsheet, it's a back-alley opera. Yeah, today's fighters are smarter, fitter, better, but the old-school guys, they fought for more than belts. They fought because they had something to prove to the world, to their fathers, to the voices in their heads that said they'd never be enough. You can't download that. You can't optimize it. And when the lights are too bright and the crowd's too loud, that's the difference between a fighter and a survivor. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. And please subscribe to Back to Boxing.